Tonight's big stories. The Philippines and China engage in another round of bilateral talks to de-escalate maritime tensions. What exactly is there to de-escalate? We'll get insights straight from geopolitical expert Richard Heydarian.
Now, what will Metro Manila roads be like once transport officials start apprehending non-consolidated jeepney drivers come February 1st under the PUV modernization program? We'll get the answers from LTFRB Chairman Teofilo Guadiz.
And the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office, or PCSO, admits that the viral picture of a Lotto winner claiming their prize at the PCSO main office was edited. We'll be discussing that and more with PCSO General Manager Robles later on.
Welcome to the big story. I'm Gretchen Hong.
I'm Riza Diaz.
And I'm Shania.
Let's start off tonight's show on foreign relations, particularly on our ties with China, where a bilateral consultation meeting took place involving foreign ministers. The Department of Foreign Affairs said they had a frank and productive discussion to de-escalate the situation in the South China Sea, and that both sides agreed to calmly deal with incidents, if any, through diplomacy.
Well, thankfully, wala pa naman tayo ulit na nababalitaan na maritime encounter with China, but we have to admit that in the past year, we did see heightened tensions on that front. No less than Chinese Ambassador to the Philippines, Wang Xilian, acknowledged that.
So our relations now stand at a crossroads as facing a choice of where to go from here. We hope that the Philippines will meet China halfway, manage maritime differences properly through dialogue and consultation, and jointly maintain peace and stability in the South China Sea.
But it's not only maritime issues that we need to take note of. There is also Taiwan and the One China policy na matunog nga ngayon because of President Bongbong Marcos's congratulatory message to Taiwan's new leader, which, as expected, China took personally.
The Taiwan question is China's internal affairs and lies at the core of China's core interest with extremely high sensitivity. So we hope that the Philippine side will stay committed to the One China policy and handle the Taiwan question prudently so as to maintain the healthy and stable development of China-Philippine relations.
So we have decided to bring in an expert to help us understand all these developments and what they mean. Joining us tonight is geopolitical analyst Richard Heydarian. He is a senior lecturer at the UP Asian Center. Richard, thank you for gracing us with your real, actual
graced
presence.
By your 3D existence.
First time live in our studio
So
here.
let's start off with our headline, di ba? To de-escalate tensions.
Right.
So according to Ambassador Wang Xilian, he acknowledges na nag-escalate daw ang tensions. But it was just a foreign policy shift, di ba? So would you say that meron ba talagang kailangan i-de-escalate?
Well, I mean, forget about tensions and escalation. We're reaching a moment of truth because China has made it very clear that should the Philippines push ahead with fortifying yung base natin, effectively yung base natin yung Sierra Madre dyan sa yung Shoal, or do anything major in other disputed areas, they're going to intervene militarily. So they have made it very clear. And at the same time, they're also very concerned dun sa direction ng Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement natin, especially yung EDCA na medyo lumalapit sa Taiwan because may concerns din sila sa Taiwan. So all of these things are coming together. So I think that as far as China is concerned, first of all, they're scrambling their head. How did we go from Duterte, who said, I love China, China will protect me and all of that, to this situation whereby you have a president who's doubling down on security cooperation with the West, joint patrols, going to the Pentagon, going to Indo-PACOM. So I think, first of all, there's a shock element there, and that's why I'm worried.
So is it that though, Richard? Or is it that tweet on X? Sorry.
The congratulatory message.
Well, that's just the latest iteration of this escalating tensions because some people are saying that was just a faux pas by BBM. Perhaps na-excite siya masyado, nag-congratulate siya. But I think that was quite calculated. I think the president was calculating.
Di tinitignan niya kung anong magiging reaction sa China. Yun ang basa ko dun eh.
Or sinasabi niya sa China na we have options in terms of getting closer to Taiwan, friendlier to Taiwan. Because one of the
okay, I'm gonna cut you off right there because historically, we do follow this one China. We have our own one China policy, but unlike other countries, we also have special relationships with Taiwan.
Sure.
Bukod dun sa 200,000 OFWs natin doon, andun yung MECO office.
Yes,
Diba?
but the thing is, okay,
But-
just to be clear, I mean, I've been in Taiwan. I was a visiting scholar there in National Chengchi. I met President Ma, I met President Tsai. One of the things I always notice when I meet them as a Filipino is like how little interaction we really have with Taiwan compared to how much is at stake. Not only 200,000 OFWs, but Taiwan is like the center of the universe when it comes to semiconductor production. They're a super high-tech country. You go to Vietnam, you go to Thailand, you go to Malaysia, Vietnamese investors are all over the place. You look at the Philippines, actually not much has been going on. And then during Digong, you had a former presidential spokesman who openly said, oh, Taiwan is essentially a non-existent political entity. It's just part of China. So actually there was a lot of dismissiveness. And let's not forget, the other big problem we have is we don't put professional diplomats to represent us dun sa Medco. It's usually some ex-official, some businessman. Actually, I think with Sylvester Bello, it's a better case because we have so many OFWs. So it's a really under-top relationship, considering that it takes you just 1 hour to go to Taipei from Manila, 3 hours to Singapore, 3 hours to Malaysia. So what President BBM is perhaps saying here is that this under-top relationship could be a little bit more tapped than usual. And they talk about economic relationship, they talk about people, but it could be strategic, especially because of EDCA. If we give Americans more access to bases in Cagayan, Isabela, more presence in Batanes, for China, that's a nightmare situation just when they're also worried about Ayungin Shoal. So this is where I think we need to have some conversation, really, with our Chinese counterparts.
Is it time to revisit the One China policy? This was actually adopted during Marcos Sr.'s time.
Right.
50 years later, should we rethink it? And what cards do we have on that side? Hindi ba pagka, kumbaga, nagagalit na nga sila dun sa EDCA and we further infuriate them, we risk ourselves getting into that conflict on that side of the region?
Well, I mean, first of all, I would say there's like 50 shades of One China policy, right?
Correct.
More than 100 countries around the world. I mean, ilan na lang bansa na hindi...
Kanya-kanyang interpretation.
Exactly. So how you
Depende sa
execute it really
interpretation.
depends, and it goes from administration to administration. So we're just telling the Chinese that we may have a different shade of One
Right.
China policy, which might be darker than what you want. So I think that's a good... In fact, you're absolutely right, Gretchen, that there is risk here, but there's also opportunity here. Now, one of my controversial semi-arguments, and I stand to be corrected by our friends in the government and all, is that we actually can use the EDCA in the, near Taiwan as a leverage of West Philippine Sea. So we can tell the Chinese, okay, there's a EDCA, but it's up to us to decide how many American troops are there, what weapon systems they put, how much further north and north the Americans are going to go. In exchange, medyo bring it down in the West Philippine Sea.
Malay mo,
So
that's
that
one of
gives
their
you
cards.
I'm sure.
It could be, right?
Both of us are playing for leverage. The Chinese are seeing what we're doing and we're seeing
May
what they're doing.
nababasa ako kasi
Exactly,
na
yeah.
pagka nagre-react daw yung China violently against something, like for example, this pronouncement,
This
congratulatory
tweet,
message of
right.
the president, medyo dun sensitive si China eh.
Right.
Which in case nakita natin dito, our ambassador was someone
Right.
in China.
That's true.
So yun siguro, no, yung parang touch
Yeah,
point,
but
sensitive
they're
touch
always
points.
sensitive, right? I remember every time with
It didn't end there,
you
ah.
offend the feelings of 1 billion
Okay.
people, yung mga ganun. Like,
Richard, Defense Chief Gibo Chodoro also weighed in expressing his dismay over, quote, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson stooping down to gutter-level talk and even insulting the Philippine president.
Okay, here
You
I'm gonna
seen
make
the-
trouble. Probably Gibo
Right.
will not come to my show here anymore. Ganito ang sabi ko, okay.
Ano mo na sasabihin mo? Hindi naman siya masyadong
No,
gutter.
I'm not. No, I think Gibo is not saying God, and I think Gibo is doing a fantastic job of calling out some of the wolf warrior diplomacy, pakiut na mga ano. doon. But I'd rather have our DFA take the lead on statements about China. When I hear non-DFA people saying there's no point in diplomacy with China or hindi question, malapit ng elections, mainit ang tao sa China. I know everyone wants to be suddenly tough on China. I'm not talking about Gibo per se, but I remember very well during Duterte time, ilan lang kami, nag-oppose kay Duterte na, to say it openly. Suddenly now, uso na ngayon maging anti-China and all. For me, dapat ang uso ngayon, statesmanship. Because mataas na intention, your president has already made the right decision, US is coming, so please lang, okay, this
You
is a
have to
time for
control the
serious
situation.
statesmanship. This is not contribute. So, all due respect, this is a great way of calling it out, but I'd rather have Enrique Manalo and DFA people take the lead on this. And
Why
us,
do you say that? I mean, we've seen that in the past year, that tensions have been heightened. Why are you suddenly very much more cautious now? Is that related
yeah, I know
to...
this doesn't sound Idarian, right?
Yeah.
I'm always
Is
the
that
guy.
related
Let's
to
go.
the Taiwan election result?
Everything. I mean, for me, I think it's dark clouds are gathering in. China is very jittery these days. Their economy is slowing down. Xi Jinping is consolidating power, so everything goes wrong. It's on him. We're not giving them anything. I think there should be always an off-ramp in any situation of escalating tensions, just to make sure you keep it below a threshold. Having said that, I'm still going to be Haidar, and I'm going to say we need to show to China that we're here to get their respect.
Ito nga yung
Kasi
thing
they respect us before.
You know,
Yeah.
human nature, di ba? As you gather, you speak out, ganyan, medyo lumalapit ka sa risk, di ba?
Right.
You're poking the bear, kumbaga. Now, sinabi na ni Ambassador Huang Xilian na
Don't
we
play
are
with
at a
fire.
crossroads.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't play with fire. We're at a crossroads. I
Right.
mean, do we just take this as more like, you know,
Is that a warning?
Okay, ganito
It's
kasi
war.
point. Ganito ang
Yeah.
point ko. I have nothing against. Okay, let me use the card. Nothing against going sports mode. What I'm against is you go from 0 to 10 in like 1 year. That's too
Yes,
fast.
yes.
Look at where we were under. Like if Aquino were the former president and then we're here right now, it's okay. You went from 6 to 8 or 6. You went from Digong
0
to
to 10,
this.
ganon.
Medyo hindi ma-appreciate, hindi ma-process ng
Wait,
China.
speaking
That's
of,
why I'm a little bit worried.
we made
yeah.
pronouncements that we were going to improve
Right, the
infrastructures in the Kalayaan group of
right,
islands. Does that further heighten tensions?
Isa pa
What do you
yan,
think
yeah,
about
yeah.
that?
Right.
What do you think about announcing it? That's number one. And number two, is it the right decision to go, the right direction to go at this point?
Again, this is like, again, all due respect to General Bronner, fantastic guy, great guy.
Yes.
We also know he was there in the ROREP mission, right? If
now
God
water
forbid
cannon siya.
So again, I am all for patriotism. I'm just saying, wag natin isabay na sports mode lahat and all. Baka nga, kasi China is very jittery right now, and they have like armada of militia
Yes.
vessels here in the West Philippine Sea.
Kailangan natin
It
tandaan
takes-
yun.
That we've
It
seen,
takes one
actually.
fool
Yeah. Right.
to completely change the complexion of everything like that.
Pero
So now you see
nakasana
why I'm
tong
kind of
projects
worried
na to
suddenly.
eh. These projects are already,
Have been budgeted?
diba?
Yeah, they
Will
do
be
it
set in motion.
quietly and
You know how
slowly
easy that
and
is?
sequentially.
No, and
I
even
mean,
that graphic, no, now comparing
Yeah.
China's military might with the US's military might, I mean, medyo iba yung strengths and weaknesses nila, pero may laban siya eh. And it's nothing to laugh about. It's nothing to
Right,
scoff at. Medyo nakakatakot siya.
No, kaya nga for me, what I'm not endorsing any brand. We need a Goldilocks approach, right? Not too hot, not too cold. The fundamental problem with Philippine Foreign Policy, I've written books and all about this. We go these wild swings. I mean, kaya nga,
So
minsan
what's the sweet spot then?
The sweet spot is something you have to find, but I don't think it's what we have right now because I think we're overdoing it. Kaya sabi ko, shift gears tayo. I'm go 1, 2, 3. I think we should have been at level 3 now. We're already at level 5 right now. So for me, you need to have a little bit of off-ramp. The one good thing, though, is you have a president. He's very statesman-like. You know, if you look at the statement of the president. So I want to hear more Enrique Manalo sometimes and more of BBM. Because I think we have already made it clear to China that this is not Duterte administration. We're not going to be pushovers. We're going to stand our ground. I'm all for that. But level mo lang yan. I-calibrate mo lang.
Could
So
we learn-
calibrated assertiveness is my position. That's how what
Could we learn a thing or two about how Taiwan has dealt with the cross-strait situation, with how DPP has dealt with it? I mean, syempre sila rin eh, pareho they're managing
that's
that
exactly my reason.
relations.
If you look at Tsai Ing-wen, she comes from Democratic Progressive Party, which is known to be more pro-independence.
Right.
But throughout her 8 years term in office, you didn't hear a single indication that they're
Talaga,
going to
wala.
push for a referendum. Extremely careful, extremely careful.
I think there was one time though, I think, was it the vice president from the US visited? Tapos,
Something like
wow,
that.
yeah.
But if you look at it, in fairness to Tsai Ing-wen, she has been a stateswoman at the highest level. And we're hoping, and I kind of met William Lai last year during an event, he gave a speech. I feel there's that sense of continuity there. So if Taiwan, na sobrang kalaban talaga nila yung kabila,
At saka may threat na,
are
meron
extra
dumadaan.
careful.
What if
Wala,
though,
no?
Richard? Okay, obviously tapos na yung election sa Taiwan,
Right.
pero what if yung kommentang yung nanalo?
Yung opposition.
Would things be so much
Right.
more
Would it-
different here for
Because
us?
they are friendlier
Yeah.
towards
Towards
China.
which is ironic because yun ang kalaban nila
Oo
ng
nga,
Civil
dati.
War.
Congratulate
Pero
niya.
nagbago na yung
But-
ihip
but-
ng hangin. Parang
but-
MILF tsaka
But if you
MNF.
follow the timing of these elections, no one talked about reunification because 70% of Taiwanese, this was just around 20% a decade ago, now feel purely as Taiwanese. That means that any party in China, in Taiwan, sorry, Republic of China, has to really thread a careful line. In the same way, in the Philippines, 80% are tough against China. So there's a consensus building in both countries, and that will shape their democratic politics. Dapat morning show tayo kasi masyadong energy level.
Pero alam mo, Richard, I trust na hindi pa to yung end of it. So
Yes.
for sure,
of
balik
course,
ka.
yeah.
Don't, siguro yung message niya, no?
I'll join you from Beijing next.
Don't let emotions run high.
Yes.
And you're right, this is the first time I've seen you like this. I mean, talk this way.
Because it's the first time we've
Very
seen you.
Unhildarian.
May nawawala pala
At the start of 2024.
All right, thank you so much for your insights tonight and your time for
Pleasure,
joining
thank
us.
Thank you.
UP Asian Center Senior Lecturer Richard Haydarian. Do catch more feminist analyses in Long Conversation, The View from Manila. Okay, while we digest all that, break muna tayo. Right after that, less than 2 weeks to go before February. How will our roads look like with the PUV consolidation mandate fully enforced? We'll be asking that to LTFRB Chairman Teofilo Guadiz after the break. Keep it here on One News. Still, the big story here on One News. Issues with PUV modernization continue to rock the transportation sector in the first few weeks of 2024. Transport groups are still calling on the administration to restore revoked franchises of drivers who did not consolidate. So, what can commuters expect on February 1 when the LTFRB begins apprehending non-consolidated drivers? To answer that question and a lot more, we have with us on the program LTFRB Chairman Jojo Guadiz. Chairman Guadiz, thank you so much for joining us. Alam namin, tulad ng nasabi ni Gretchen sila kanina. Busy kayo.
Yes, it's quite a tough time from now until January 31 when the period for the transition ends from the traditional jeepney to the modern jeepney. This is a time when only the consolidated jeepneys would be allowed to ply their routes here in Metro Manila and all over the Philippines.
Is this a hard deadline? No more extensions?
This is a hard deadline which was given by no less than the President, that only those who have opted to join the modernization program will be allowed to ply the streets of Metro Manila.
So just to clarify that, Chairman, yung Supreme Court decision, hindi nyo nahahantayin? Kasi yung timing is...
Yes, the Supreme Court decision is another issue. We will abide with whatever would be the decision of the court, but in the meantime, life has to go on. Programs of the government has to go on. So we have to move forward. Of course, later on, whatever would be the decision of the Supreme Court, the LTFRB would have to defer and obey whatever is that decision.
So you'll take that as it comes. Pero for now, tuloy pa rin sa Feb 1.
Yes.
Dapat.
May I remind you that what is the program right now is not the phasing out of the jeepneys, contrary to what is being shown in the media right now. what we intend to achieve right now is just the first phase of the modernization program. What is that? Industry consolidation. We simply require the operators of the jeepneys to form themselves into a corporation or a cooperative, which is the first part of the program. Hanggang doon lang po tayo muna. The fleet modernization, which they are saying, would come probably 30 months from now pa. So malayo pa po tayo doon sa mga kinatatakutan nila na mawawala daw yung mga jeepneys sa daan, yung mga lumang
It
jeepneys.
seems this is a lack of understanding, Chairman. And we know, we've had your spokesperson, Celine Pialago here. She explained it very well. Yung basa ko dun sa buong thing, parang sort of along the way, may nalolost in translation pagdating dun sa mga drivers natin. Ano po yung nagyayari dun?
Yes,
Why is the message not getting across?
The message here is that for us to move forward, we need to modernize our transport system, the road transport system especially. So what are the steps then? This is a long project that cannot be done overnight. So we start first by asking the operators and the jeepney drivers to come together, consolidate themselves either as a cooperative or as a corporation. Like for example, the route of Spania. We ask together all those flying that route to come together, talk together, and come up with a common plan whereby only 1, 2, or at the most 3 cooperatives will be flying that route.
Yun nga po.
Yun lang muna.
Pero sa Feb 1 kasi yung takot.
Right. Chairman, anong mangyayari sa mga drivers come Feb 1 na hindi po
Pasahero.
nakapag-consolidate? There will be apprehension. So meron po bang pagkumpiska ng lisensya, penalties, ano pong mangyayari?
Okay, may I answer in a different aspect? In Metro Manila, based on the records of LTO and LTFRB, of the 22,000 operators, there were about 21,000 plus that consolidated. So that is about 97%. There are only about 600 jeepney operators who opted not to join the consolidation. So we look into the reason why they did not choose to join the consolidation program. Number one is that their jeeps are probably old. And number two is that they opted to go to other forms of business where the government offered them the social component program. Ano po yun? Baking, mechanic, and the other forms of livelihood program which TESDA and DOLE offered. So yun po yung mga dahilan. So what would happen? Yes, there would be apprehension. Perhaps not because of anything else, because if you are not able to consolidate, hindi po kayo makakapagrehistro sa LTO.
So yung problema is nasa labas ng Metro Manila mostly. Because kung 97% ang nakapag-consolidate na here, more or less, then it would not, then most of the numbers na hindi consolidated would be outside the NCR. It would be a lot harder and I can imagine more crippling for passengers and commuters. Yeah.
Yes, not exactly po, ma'am. Because there are routes na may mga jeepney na nagbibiyahe dyan, may mga taxi, may mga UV, may mga bus. So, of this 76% nationwide rate, meron pong a little bit like 24% na vacuum, and this can be easily filled up by the other modes of transportation. In Metro Manila, other than the buses, the UV, we have the railway system. Sa probinsya naman po, those that fail to consolidate, ang dami pong tricycle, ang dami pong UV, at saka marami pong buses. So, you can hardly feel, if at all you will feel, the
How do we
vacuum.
identify which jeepneys have consolidated and which have not? Yung sticker system po, tama po ba?
Yes.
Mabibigay po ba yun sa lahat by February 1?
No, not yet. Initially, by February 1, we'll go slow on them. We will just go on random checking of the jeepneys. But as time goes on, every time they would renew their registration, we will now require them to come up with a sticker.
What's the timeline on that, Chair?
I would
A
say
sticker for their cooperative or a sticker provided by the
sticker
LTO?
provided by LTFRB to at least show that they are consolidated. Timeline would probably be about a year By then, pag nakita na namin, alam na namin if you have joined the modernization program of the
Wait,
government.
nababanggit po ninyo kanina 30 months before fleet modernization.
Yes, that's
Pagdating
true.
po ng 30 months, what is expected of these cooperatives in terms of their fleet?
Okay. After they have merged themselves together into a cooperative or a corporation, they are given a certain latitude of time, 30 months to at least 37 months. Then we will require them to gradually change their old traditional jeepneys to the modernized jeepneys that we have right now. But make no mistake, when you say the modernized jeepney, hindi lang po ito yung puti na nakikita nyo. Right now, we have new jeepneys approved under the Philippine National Standard. They look traditional, but they conform with the Philippine National Standards. In what way? Ang babaan sa kaliwa, mataas yung sa bandang dulo, and then these are air-conditioned jeepneys with Wi-Fi.
And PWD access.
Of course. Meron ho tayong upuan doon, especially for those who have wheelchair. There's always one sector there or one area na pwede mo ilagay yung
Chair, marami po nagugulat na yung presyo ng Francisco Motors for one, napakamura. They are at the 900,000.
985,000.
Compared to the 1.6 to 2 million and
Yes.
more. Why was this option here only this late? I mean, why did it not come at the forefront of the PUV modernization program? I mean, bakit po, kumbaga ito na yung mas viable solution.
Yes, let me give you the history. When this was first started in 2017, there were several manufacturers who came in. About 60% or 56% are local, and the rest are foreign manufacturers. Francisco Motor only came in lately. But before they came in, the prices of the jeepneys would range from 1.2 to 2.8, depending upon the type of jeep that you would want to purchase.
I think what people want, Chair, is the assurance, no, na walang hocus-pocus nagyayari. Because when you say 985 versus 2.8M, ang laki po, di ba? So, what can you say in terms of assuring the public, assuring our drivers, our operators, our cooperatives, our corporations,
Na walang nakikinabang dito.
na iba?
Ma'am, in the acquisition of the jeepneys, wala hong say ang LTFRB. What we just require you is that your jeepney should conform to the standards set by the Philippine government. Then they are given the wide latitude to select from among the 54 manufacturers. Hopefully, if Francisco Motor comes in, he becomes the 55th manufacturer to come in. Bahala po yung mga officers and the drivers of the cooperative to choose from which among those 54
Pero
manufacturers.
kasi, iniisip ko lang, Chair, kunwari, may 54 manufacturers ka, pero isa lang yung nagbebenta at 908 at sub 1 million. Di syempre, lahat gusto bumili doon. Baka hindi nila ma-deliver lahat within the 30-month window.
Yung demand, no?
Oo.
Sa dami.
Meron po ba tayong tax breaks for manufacturers na local or, I don't know, some sort of
I'm
program?
not so much aware of the tax breaks. I think that has to be answered by the Department of Finance. But I understand, yes, there are tax breaks given to local manufacturers, not only of jeepneys or motor vehicles, but for other products. For your fear na baka plug in lahat ito sa isang manufacturer, especially the one with the lowest bid or with the lowest price, I think that doesn't call for an alarm. Pag nakita ng mga ibang manufacturers na nagbagsak ito ng 980,000, definitely by sheer principle of competition, everybody will probably toe down the line and will make their price as near to 980,000. That is where the competition comes in.
Chairman, meron din bang possibility na magkaroon ng parang effect, let's say, sa presyo ng pamasahe? Dahil hindi na kasing dami ng dati na pumapasadang jeepney ang masasakyan ngayon ng mga kababayan natin. Is that something that you are looking into or seeing, down the line?
We do not see that. Number one, as I was telling you, in certain routes, may mga jeep na pumapasada for a shorter route. And may mga jeepney that also covers that on a longer route na dinadaanan yung short route na yon. And there is bus, there is UV. So there would not be a shortage in the motor vehicles. The argument that they were telling us before is that because of the probable increase in the price or the cost of the jeepney,
Right.
baka tumaas yung
And the
pamasahe.
capitalization and having
Yes.
to pay off loans and all the systems that they would have to keep in place to run the cooperative. Sinasabi nga po nila, di ba, mga 6 to
Operating
7,000.
expense, yes.
Operating
Oo.
expenses, the capex.
With the, ano yan, 2.8
With the 2.8
million jeepney. Pero pag pinamaba natin sa 980,000,
Mas bababa.
syempre
Sinabi sa
bababa
atin ni,
yun.
di ba, ni Mr. Francisco from Francisco Motors, sabi niya kahit one shift lang daw
Okay,
mababa.
can you assure us that the fares will remain as they are at 15 and 13 pesos?
There is on the matter of assurance, yes. Let's look into the empirical data. Modernization started in 2017. There were modernized jeepneys that started then. The price for the fare is only 11 pesos then. Right now, it's 14 or 13 pesos 6 years thereafter. If the cost really of the jeepney would affect the fare, then by now it would not only be 16 pesos. It would have been more. But look into the data, 4 na piso lang ang tinaas. Number 2, before they can even do that, they will have to pass through LTFRB. And we have to
May
consult
regulator na.
NEDA. We regulate the price. And number 3, right now, because these are modernized jeepneys, the assumption in the study is that they are more profitable than the old ones. Why? In a certain route, for example, there are sample lang 20 jeepneys. Based on study, that can be serviced only by 15. So we limit the number of jeepneys to 15. This is just a hypothetical case. These 15 can generate more profit than 20. Number 2, nung una kasi, one operator, one driver, nag-uunahan yan sa daan. In a modernized system, ang pagbibiyahe niyan is like the bus. May una, after a few minutes, may susunod. Ensuring that every jeepney gets the maximum number of passengers, thereby ensuring maximum profit for the jeepneys. So tumataas ang kita and there would be less of them in the market. So mataas therefore yung kanilang profit in return. So that would keep then the cost. That would keep then the operating cost.
Okay, but Chair, ikutan natin ulit itong mga
Yes.
ruta ha, because yun yung actual main reason is we wanted to find out ano bang mangyayari sa Feb 1. Kasi nobody knows for sure, right? So we have prepared a graphic for you because we would like you sana to elaborate more on your statement that there will be no displacement of drivers, especially the fact that over 20,000 have yet to register and only have promised. So hindi pa sila tumutuloy. So ano magyayari sa registration and routes? 395 routes. We have this data, correct us if we're wrong, na hindi bumuo ng kooperatiba. So almost 400 routes po yun. Ano pong magyayari? Tulad ng sinabi nyo kanina, will it just sasaluhin na lang ba yan ng other forms of transport like tricycles, buses, etc.?
Okay. In most of these 395 routes, these are what you call secondary or tertiary routes. Mga maigsi lang yung 3-kilometer routes. Within that certain route, may mga long distance routes being traversed by different jeepneys. So yan, sakop ng ibang jeepneys yan. So napipick up yung pasahero. Number 2, the buses that traverse that route. Number 3, the UVs that traverse that route. So yung mga hindi po nag-consolidate, yung mga areas na yun, may ibang klase ng public transport na dumadaan na kayang-kaya pong saluhin yung mga hindi
Kaya yun yung
nag-consolidate.
reason, Chairman, kung bakit ang traffic, kung dumodoble-doble pala yung mga dumadaan sa isang route.
Exactly. That is what we intend also to prevent right now. Pag nalilimit mo yung number of jeepneys, because they have been modernized and then naayos mo yung routing
bigger
scheme nila.
capacity also.
Yes, and then they have bigger capacity, correct, Gretchen. Then that would mean less traffic, less carbon emission.
So in a nutshell, it's also kind of a rationalization of routes, the number of vehicles flying paulit-ulit and like redundancy kasi ng mga amount of public utility vehicles traversing a certain route, for example.
Yes, that's one thing. Redundancy in a sense na yung dalawang jeep nag-uunahan to the point na magbanggahan na. That would also cause probable accidents. So, to avoid that, there would be a dispatching system. Yung isa mauna, after 5 minutes, may susunod. Insured ka na may passenger ka pa. Number 2, if you notice yung mga jeepneys natin, pag naka-boundary na sila, umuwi na sila kaagad. Diba? Kasi kuha na nila yung quota nila for the day. In a modernized scheme, dahil tuloy-tuloy ang dispatching niyan, 24 hours, assured ka na may jeepney ka. That is the second thing that is being answered by modernization. At any given point in time, meron at meron na dadaan
Lahat po
modernized
ba
jeepney.
sila ay disweldo na, lahat ng drivers, under this modernized system?
Yeah.
Or is that a choice of the cooperative?
No, that is a mandatory requirement. The sweldo and they have the social benefits like SSS, PhilHealth, kasi mga empleyado na to eh. Hindi na ito operator-driver ang relationship nila. It's a
But what about how about the units? Will it be named after the cooperative? Kasi yun din po, yung losing power over your business.
And your
dahil
franchise.
Yung binabayaran mo na unit, it is with the cooperative. How about the titles for that? Does that go to the driver or the cooperative? Paano po yun?
Gretchen, remember, the members of the cooperative are the operators themselves.
Yes.
So, nag-usap-usap sila. The average number now is 15, but lately we have reduced that to 10. Sila rin ang magde-decide from among themselves. So, the title goes to the name of the cooperative and they are the officers of the cooperative. So, sa kanila rin yun. They get to keep these jeepneys.
Chairman, we understand magkakaroon po ng meeting next week in preparation for February 1st. Ano po ang mga importanteng mapag-usapan doon?
In the meeting, first, we would look into the prospect now of this modernization program. We will now anticipate the probable problems that will occur. Number one is most probably another public outcry or a rally. A strike, o yun ang ina-anticipate namin. Yung shortage ng sasakyan, no, we do not anticipate that because we have different transport systems in the country. Yun lang naman eh.
Chair, naimbestigahan niyo po ba yung reports na parang meron ding yung car grabbing? Yun nga po yung tanong ko dun sa titulo.
Yung carnapping, quote unquote.
When you're paying off a loan, di ba, kumbaga, yung titulo ay nasa bangko pa. Hindi muna sa'yo hanggang sa matapos mo yung pagbabayad mo. So, naimbestigahan niyo po ba yun na yung fears ng mga jeepney drivers na maagawan sila ng mga jeepney na binabayaran nila? At para lang malinaw po, what is the process for that? Does the jeepney driver get the title after paying?
No, the title stays with the cooperative.
With the cooperative, not with the driver.
Yes, where the operator is a member of the cooperative. Ma'am, let's make a distinction between the driver and the operator. The driver is the employee, the operator is the owner of the jeepney.
Okay.
So,
But in some cases, it's the one and the same.
yes, there are a lot of cases where in a single type, iisa lang yung operator at saka driver. Yes, we have heard of those occasions where the driver or where the operator had a problem with the cooperative. In this instance, the Office of the Transport Cooperative comes in and tries to intervene in the problem. That is where the government comes in na pag nagka-problema.
Alright, kung okay lang sa inyo, Chairman Jojo, baka pwede ka namin kamustahin sa Feb 1 o kahit Feb 2 para makapagpahinga po kayo. And we'll see how this all pans out. We are all, of course, we're not sure what's going to happen, but we're all hoping for the best. But thank you so much for coming here tonight and explaining everything to us, LTFRB Chairman Jojo Guadiz III.
Thank you very much and good day.
Thank you, sir. Now, up next, have you seen this photo making rounds on social media? Well, that's a picture posted by PCSO of the recent Grand Lotto 655 winner, which netizens pointed out was an edited picture. Now, more details on that and more when we return. Keep it here on One News. still watching the big story here on One News. Ito nang isa sa mga mainit na pinag-uusapan.
debate yan.
Pinakamainit.
Sa group chat ng
Eh,
lahat.
syempre, maraming perang involved dito.
Correct.
Ano?
Yung nag-iisa, the lone winner last night bagged, a jackpot in the Grand Lotto 655 draw that's worth over 698.8 million pesos. Sabi ka siya, laking pera nga kasi. Na yung tumaya, or yung better that won actually, that 655 Lotto with the combination of 24, 50, 52, 9, 51, and 3. It was the second time in as many days that a lone winner bagged over 600 million pesos in a Lotto draw. Now, but here's the thing. The winner of the December 28 Lotto 642 jackpot became the talk of the town. Bakit? Kasi parang edited daw yung picture that we are actually seeing right now. Some netizens even posted a quick explanation of how they found out that the PCSO photo was edited. Now, according to the PCSO, the winner is a 47-year-old housewife from San Jose del Monte, Bulacan. Now, because of all the chatter on social media, several senators decided to question the photo during the hearing of the Senate Committee on Ways and Means, Public Order, and Dangerous Drugs regarding Lotto. There, the PCSO admitted that the picture is indeed edited.
Meron po nagreklamo sa amin one time, we covered the face, yung damit naman po ay nakilala. So, nagreklamo siya, sana naman daw po, wag ipakita naman po yung damit. So, yan po ang reason niyan, and I agree, it's a very poor editing.
At least inaamin nyo, ayan, marami kasi mga nagtatanong, nagsabi, purang pagka-edit.
I'm
So,
sorry,
inaamin nyo,
we're not very good at editing the clothes.
Pero yung tao hindi edited.
Hindi po, totoo po
Tunay
yan.
na tao to.
Tunay na tao po yan.
Well, now, along with this, the Senate said that it will conduct an executive session to determine the identities of the winners and ensure that they are not connected to PCSO officials.
Lahat po on record yan, kung isusumpinan niyo po, we can provide the
No,
names.
para maalis na po yung haka-haka na yan, gusto po namin makita kung talagang totoong tao yon. And then gagawa nga ako ng cross-checking. Sinabi ko na kanina, I'm gonna use the NBI, the ICT, if I have to hire a private detective, para magkaroon ng cross-checking kung yun ba related sa inyo. Hindi.
Natulfo pa, oh.
Hindi, alam mo yung kinakatakutan ko talaga nung nalaman ko na fake siya.
Oo.
Sabi ko, baka walang nanalo.
Ayan.
Saan napunta yung pera? Although, the parang practical side of my brain, di ba, they always kind of keep anonymous naman kung sino nanalo.
Kailangan kasi i-conceal yung identity
Yes.
for their security and
But
safety.
did they have to go to those lengths?
You know what?
So,
It all boils down, they need a new editor.
Kaya,
Baka may
halata,
na-fire,
halata.
mag-hiring sila ng bagong
so
editor.
you mean,
Hindi mo naman
baka
mukhang
dati pa nila
taong bayan.
ginagawa yan.
No, they've been doing that. It's just that siguro this version, talagang
No, but it
ang
also
sama.
makes you question the past winners. If the
Yeah,
authenticity of the past winners.
Right.
Because uso at alam
Pero
yung
alam mo
fake
dati,
news.
nai-interview pa yan sa TV, pero syempre nakabalot yung mukha,
Right.
di ba? So, kahit paano, alam mo na, okay, may tao, pero siya ba talaga yun? Sino ba yun
Kaya
nandun?
nga.
Baka si Aling Maria lang yan. Pero I read this post on Instagram by Jess Asnar, a photojournalist. At nagustuhan ko yung post niya, sabi niya, we can learn many things from this public visual exercise. One, visual literacy creates critical thinkers, and the public's visual literacy levels are already on the rise
Right.
thanks to highly visual digital platforms. So, naging magaling na tayo.
Dahil nga,
Mag-spot ng mga...
ang dami ng fake news na lumalabas, mga
Correct.
edited photos. So pero hindi naman mahirap kasi yung picture naman.
So,
Medyo
right na makita.
halatang edited siya. But it's good that we're looking into this. I mean, also, I think would be good to look at are the protocols for winners. Whether they actually, have to take a photo, whether they have to post. Pwedeng,
I don't think they are
ano
required
dapat
to post because it goes against their security.
It's PCSO
Kaya
that's
nga eh.
required to post
Yeah.
na may nanalo. And then
Yes.
ito yung proof na nagpicture, inabot yung
Tapos
cheque.
sasabihin lang nila kung saan tumaya yung tao.
Right.
Like, let's say, sa ganito booth, sa Santa Maria, Bulacan, tapos 65-year-old nurse, minsan
Yes.
ganon. Or something vague like that.
Mm.
Blind item, in short.
Well, it would be good to look into that. But now, let's take a break. After the break, former Supreme Court Chief Justice Arteme Panganiban gave his take on the rise of artificial intelligence. especially in the legislative processes in the country. The details on that when the big story returns. Keep it here. Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here on One News.
Ladies, have you tried using AI lately?
Ginagamit ko na.
Alam ko nga, sasabihin ko palang malamang ikaw yung nakagamit.
Ginagamit ko ChatGPT for kung magre-research ako para mabilis ang sagot. Pag nagmamadali.
Involuntarily, nagagamit na rin.
Ikaw, ginagamit.
Hindi. Pero yun nga, diba? Minsan tawag ka sa hotline, yun ang sasagot sa'yo. So somehow, right? Diba?
Somehow, you can't avoid it.
Right. Well, did you know that artificial intelligence has actually been around for a while now, but it's just now that the Senate is actually looking at incorporating this into our laws to keep up with the changing times and for the benefit of the future. Mobile journalist Merimon Reyes has the story.
Former Chief Justice Artemio Panganiban pointed out in a discussion that AI presents so many possibilities, both good and bad for humans. From benefits like making jobs easier for people, to its potential of being used for crimes like making use of such technology for hacking or scamming. These technological advancements may also cause mental health issues like depression or anxiety, especially in this age of social media.
Sometimes it bothers me to know that AI and other technological advances pose significant risks, including in the domains of daily life. Indeed, any use of AI requires caution and humility.
Considering AI's impact, numerous countries, including the Philippines, are starting to eye regulation for these modern technologies under legislation. While in the judiciary, even if AI can now easily be integrated into constitutional statutes and regulations, Panganiban notes that court judges will still be the ones making decisions to defend human justice and not robots.
Verily, judges are conferred wide discretion, not available to technology bots, to attain a just and humane society where liberty is safeguarded and prosperity is nurtured under the rule of law. The running bulls of technology are here to stay. They are inevitable with all their benefits, risks, and opportunities.
Former Chief Justice Panganiban even gave us a peek of the Supreme Court strategic plans for judicial innovations. They plan to digitalize all courts across the nation as well as the entire judicial system to effectively and efficiently defend people's rights. But Panganiban notes that technology will never replace humans in making decisions on cases and writing of laws.
Let us not forget that there is a human mind, there is a human heart. I'm more than confident that much can be done to protect the will of sovereign people as enshrined in our Constitution. Let us remain vigilant, have a particularly strong responsibility for ensuring the safety of these technologies for the future of generations to come and for humanity.
For many experts, it's clear that AI is here to stay. That's why for the judicial system, it's very important to make sure that such technologies are used responsibly and ethically. Mobile Journal Merimon Reyes, we are One News.
Napakahalagang maintindihan yung artificial intelligence because as he said, it is here to stay.
Right.
and better to embrace it and to understand its advantages, also its limitations, so you can use it.
Gusto ko rin yung Senate is being proactive in including this in legislation para, alam mo yun, malinaw na yung patakaran moving forward. Kasi parang yung mga cybersecurity natin, medyo I think nahuli tayo. So it's good to know that our lawmakers are on it.
We're on a good direction with this.
So, ChatGPT?
Try na. Mag-experiment tayo.
Matulog tayo sa kanya.
How do I... Okay, that's it for the show on this Thursday night.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in and have a good night.